Hello, Dr. Gaurav. I'm so sorry I'm unable to switch on my video, but thank you for
Just
this
wait a minute,
opportunity.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a
Yeah,
minute. Let me. So Shiv Kumari, okay. So you cannot switch on your video. Okay, that's
yeah,
okay. It would have been nice, like if you could do that, but leave it. Okay. Yes, Shiv Kumar.
yeah, yeah.
Ask.
Hello. So I just wanted to know more about your step one prep and how you managed to do it with like a residency, and how many questions would you like usually solve realistically in a day when you're working, and how many months do you think a student should take to like appear for the pass fail exam?
So let me tell you about my story, like how I took this exam. So I'm from 2013 batch and I graduated in 2019. And just with my graduation, I got into NEET PG and got a very good hospital in Delhi. And I joined pediatric surgery residency. That was 6 years dual degree course. So in that, actually, that was surgical, and I had a lot of patient load. So it was like 2 days were basically 24 hours shift, and other days you have to be present like around 15 hours or 13 to 15 hours every day, and you don't get Sundays on that. Like in the first year, you don't get Sundays. So it was pretty hectic, but I always had this dream of pursuing USMLE. So there was a student, actually like an intern, who was rotating in my department, and I was the resident, first year resident in the department. So I had a kind of like a good interaction with that person, and he told me that like he's preparing for step one of USMLE. So I asked him like, bro, how you are preparing for it? And he just told me few things like, this is the book, this is the first aid, this is the UWorld, and these are other resources like Kaplan, some kind of like uh, Picmonics, and there's this micro sketchy micro and other things. So he just gave me three things. Like if you really want to finish, so I had like a very limited amount of time after my residency to study. So what I did was like I gave myself a timeline. In 2019, I could not do that because I was like going through a very tough time of residency. Like initial 6 months are really tough. So in 2020, what I did was like I started preparing for it, and I used to write few things in my timetable diary. So I had a diary in which I used to like write. So I used to write like I'll read 50 pages of first aid, and I'll solve 80 questions or 50 questions of UWorld. Like that was like kind of every day. It used to change every day, and I'll do 10 pages of pathoma. And if I'm not like if I'm not learning a concept, or if I'm having a problem with the concept, or like if I want to learn something in deep, then I would actually like search YouTube, or sometime I also had like a lot of time you can find information on YouTube, and also like you can also like search on Wikipedia. And ultimately, if you cannot find, then I also had up to date subscription from the hospital. So I used to do that. So I gave myself a timeline of 2 months. So it just like it was 2 months. Like I thought about it, like how many days will I be in how many days will I be able to finish first aid. So first aid had like around 800 or 600 pages, or I forgot about it. So every day I used to do 40 to 50 pages of first aid, just like reading, and then solving the UWorld questions. This was the initial time. And when I finished my first aid, then I got the basic gist of first aid, like what is written in the first aid, and what are the topics that I have to cover in step one. Then I started solving UWorld religiously. It's just like UWorld, and I used to like I did one thing. I took out pages from my first aid and I made a binder. Like everybody talks about it, so making a binder. And in that binder I used to take out like 40 pages, like particularly if I'm doing a cardiology topic, like imagine like I'm doing a cardiology topic, so 30 to 40 pages of cardiology I used to take out. And I had my iPad and my phone, so I used to solve questions like in the hospital, or like if I'm like eating something, and I had those 40 pages folded in my pocket of my apron. So whenever I find something that I don't know, or that is not in my first aid, so I used to annotate on those pages of first aid. Are you getting my point? Because you cannot carry your first aid everywhere, so I used to do this. Like this is my trick. I would say this is my trick. Like, take out the pages, put it in your pocket, and whenever you get the time, open the UWorld and start solving that particular topic, and annotate the information that is super super important, and you know that you will forget. And I also gave myself one thing, like whenever you are studying something, just just tell yourself this way, that you are gonna do it for once, like it's gonna pass. Like how should I put it? Like, if you're going to imagine that, if you're going to a if you're watching a nice movie, do you repeat it? No, you don't. Like, if I'm talking about Marvel's movie, like Avengers Endgame, so in the first like if you're watching it for the first time, you watch everything very carefully, like everything, you keep your mind open. So I used to do that. I used to give myself, I'm not going to repeat this question, so in the first go I'll get the gist of everything, whatever written in this question, and also other options, like why not this option, why not this option. So if I learn something from the options explanation, I used to annotate that also in my first aid. So everything was in my first aid. So I made my first aid my Bible, a medical Bible. So this was the technique I used to follow, and I only followed three study materials. First aid, first aid is the Bible. UWorld, UWorld, there's nothing in comparison to UWorld. And the third thing is Pathoma. If you have like I studied pathology from Robbins, so Pathoma was okay. Like Robbins is quite vast. Everything is explained in Robbins. So Pathoma is like a crux of Robbins. So I used to do that. Like Pathoma was not like it was not it was piece of cake, I would say. If you have read Robbins, then Pathoma is piece of cake. So first aid and UWorld, these two materials and combined with Pathoma is like the basic foundation. So basic foundation means like 95% of your exam will be from these three things. And if you are like covering, if you want to cover for 5% of the material, then you can go beyond the horizon to like search everything under the sky. Like you have Kaplan, you have Amboss, you have Lecturio, you have Osmosis, you have a lot of things now. Like Indian companies are also coming in the market, and they're doing this thing like we'll teach you, but you don't need any teaching. You just have to do self study.
So that's so great, Dr. Gaurav. The way you said beyond the horizons, the number of resources out there really
Yes,
scary, and it's really great dedication. Listening to you carrying your first aid sheets in your apron. That's that's something I'm going to try to do from
that's
now on.
my story. That's why my story. Like everybody is not so fortunate to like study from first year or second year or third year.
Yeah,
I started like getting into residency, so my story was pretty different. But
yeah,
I do
I
want
thought.
to tell everybody like it's a doable thing. I used to think that USMLE is so tough, like you cannot do it. But when I started preparing for it, I thought about it, and like I said, like okay, this is a doable thing. You just have to put some extra effort. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gaurav, for answering that question. Thank you.
And one more thing I would also suggest everybody, because like I had a limited time, so give yourself a very realistic timeline, and give yourself not beyond 4 months. Because like if you do this way, so what happens is like your memory is kind of like when you pass certain amount, like certain amount of time, like if you have read this first chapter of your book, and if you cross like 2 or 3 months, everything will go away. Okay, so your like it will be erased from your memory. So try to like balance your things in that time, so that like you have started your preparation in May and you are giving your exam in July or August, because in that time you'll be able to recall everything. You don't have to like repeat, and this vicious cycle keeps on happening. So from 6 months, then you will go to 1 year or something like that. It's not like this way. Like American medical graduates only get 1 month to prepare. I took 2 months, so 2.5 months, I would say 2.5 months, like 15 days dedicated time, because I need that. I was not confident enough to like take that exam, so I took 15 days, and I started like sitting for 8 to 10 hours, like built my stamina of sitting and doing things. So 2.5 months was my story for step one.